No mai haere mai e te whānau. Welcome to the Flight of the Next podcast. My name's Holly. I'm on Gadigal land in Sydney, and today we are joined by Jeremy Garland, also on Gadigal land in Sydney. Welcome to the pod, Jeremy.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we've got two things to chat about. We will chat about our men's loss to Macarthur on Friday night, and we'll do a quick preview of our first leg against Brisbane Roar for the women's finals series. We both attended, Jeremy and I, the match on Friday, that big trip out to Campbelltown in the middle of nowhere. Well, it feels like the middle of nowhere when you live further into Sydney. But anyway, we got out there and were treated to a demolition. Unfortunately, I think it showed that we did not have Rufa more than anything. So let's see, 6-minute Matt German. It looked like it was an own goal off Bill Tuoloma, but it was given to German in the end. So there's just a volley from wide and Bill chests it into the goal. Looked like Joshy was trying to come for it. I don't know whether there was any miscommunication there. Either way, I actually think that's a mix-up at the back rather than, a good goal. Well, it's a good goal, but, I think there was a mix-up at the back. 22nd minute, Bosniak pops the ball in the back of the net. Luke Bratton, this was a really good goal. Just outside the top of the D, lashes it into the top corner. Bernardo is aimed in the 80th minute, was helped with a bit of a deflection off one of our players, which put it over Joshy, who I think did pretty well, but we really struggled from those crosses. And I think more than anything, we desperately needed Alex Rufa. Jeremy, what did you reckon?
Yeah. So it wasn't a good game at all. It wasn't what I was hoping for, or what anyone was. I guess it was. Especially conceding so early, like the 6th minute, it sort of felt like a remind. Well, it felt like we were back in the Chiefy days of earlier in the season, where we kept conceding early goals from a stupid mistake sort of thing. It kind of just didn't look like we were ready for it, up for it. I mean, that first goal was, as you say, a mix-up, and I'm not sure that Joshy called for it. I think he probably should have. I think both of them didn't realise that the other was going for it, which is sort of what's stuffed it up there. I think just either one of them calling that it was their ball could have helped prevent that, so that was a bit of a disappointment. And as you say, I think missing Alex Rufa was the main takeaway from this game. It just shows how important he is to us, and we just looked quite unorganised without him, and we didn't seem to ever figure out that Macarthur, they were just getting us from the sides, really. They were just coming up the sides, and we just didn't seem to realise it. We were playing too narrow. And I think, it was, the frustration was that, like, it wasn't like Macarthur were trying many different things. They were essentially just doing the same thing over and over, and it was working every time, which was disappointing. Like, they had quite a few corners, and especially at the start of the game, their corners, they were all going short corners, and every time it was like we hadn't prepared and didn't realise they were going to do a short corner, but it was like, it's the same as the previous corner. They're just going short again. So it didn't feel like we were. I mean, neither team technically had anything to play for, but Macarthur definitely showed up where we didn't. Yeah, and then trying to think of the other goals. So we got, I think, what am I trying to say here? Yeah, so the Luke Bratton goal. The Luke Bratton goal was a great strike, unfortunately, but that was another one where we were just ball watching and no one came in to close him down, which was, you could just see it happening in slow motion, really. You could see just no one going for it. He had all the time in the world. And so with all that time, obviously you're going to be able to take a pretty great shot. And it's a great looking goal. It's just in the wrong net for us, unfortunately. But the team, Finn Roaconchi and Sander Khartoum coming off at halftime, I think was the right call. Possibly could have, if Greeny really wanted to make an example of something, maybe he could have even taken Finn Roaconchi off in the first half to just sort of try and get at the players and say, like, this isn't good enough. Like, you're not safe out there. You need to, like, I'll take you off if you're not gonna be up to the standard. But it was quite disappointing from Khartoum, actually, because I was I was quite interested and excited to see him starting and being like, okay, well, maybe finally we get to see a few minutes from him and see what he can do with these extended minutes. But like, to be honest with you, I pretty much forgot he was there most of the time. Which maybe shows us why we haven't seen that many minutes from him since he's been there. Yeah, and then I mean, I think in the second half, Luke Brooks-Smith coming on was really good. He looked good. He was always attacking, always pushing forward. Not everything was coming off, but like it was something that we'd been missing in that first half, where we didn't really seem to be knowing how to go forward or particularly trying to push forward that fast. Whereas once Brooks-Smith came on, it was just like a battering ram. He was just going forward straight away every time. Whereas in the first half, there'd been a lot of playing it back and just constantly passing back and not really getting anywhere with it. So that was good to see from him, even though ultimately that didn't really come to anything. And I mean, probably the almost highlight of the game was Sarpreet Singh's free kick. I mean, it would have been an awesome way to finish the game, but well, I mean, we were we were already 4-0 down by that stage, I think. So it would have just been a nice consolation to get such a good looking goal and to have Sarpreet Singh actually, have a moment with us this season. But yeah, unfortunately it wasn't to be.
Yeah, he didn't look very ready to be back. I mean, obviously he got very close with that free kick and it would have been nice to have come away from the game with something, but I did see him not tracking back when it came time to defend and things like that. He just did not look ready to be there. I don't know whether it's a fitness thing and whether they've just tried to throw him on for 10 minutes at the end of the season just so he gets some minutes, wants to be in the All Whites, all that kind of stuff, or whether he just couldn't be bothered like it felt like some of the rest of the team felt like at that point, because it was 4-0, and you're not going to win the game. To be fair, we were playing for one thing, and that was the hope that Azza would score a couple of goals and maybe have a crack at the Golden Boot. That obviously did not happen. We'll do a season review for the men in a bit, but I do want to talk about how people talked about Greeny a little bit after that match, because I feel like it's been really positive up till now. He's had, up till the Macarthur game, I believe, he'd had 7 matches, which was 2 losses, 1 draw and 4 wins. It's a pretty good record. And the chat online seemed to be pretty positive about him, which, I think that's reasonable to be pretty positive about him. And then afterwards, it just sort of felt like people were like, oh no, we've gone back to our old ways. Greeny shouldn't get the job. And I think we had an absolute stinker, and I think that the coach has made it clear that he was disappointed with how people played, and that was the first game of this, this 8th game he's been in charge where people haven't really been playing as well as they have. Does this big loss sully Greeny's record coming into potentially a new season, or is it just a bump?
I don't think it sullies it too much. Because looking up until that point with him, we were quite consistent. There was a consistency there under Greeny that we didn't see at all under Chiefy for the rest of the season, the 3/4 of the season. So you still got to look at it in that he's come in for this short amount of games. It's not his squad as such, and he's still managed with someone else's squad. He's managed to turn it around, give us some hope, and actually get some consistency in the results. I think it was the first time under him was the first time this season, or maybe even in 2 seasons, that we'd won 2 games in a row, something like that. I'm not 100% sure on the fact, but so, I feel like he's done very well under, quite difficult circumstances when the squad he inherited wasn't his, and at the same time the morale would have been quite low at the point where he took them over, and he quite quickly got them back on track and actually made us feel like we had a chance at finals football. And yeah, and as well as that, we won at Amy Park, which we hadn't done in 9 years. So it sort of shows that he's able to help with that mentality shift. And yeah, I think to a certain degree, part of it is on, I think just there's players there that have potentially already checked out. They know they're not coming back to us next season, and that maybe they're not too. They're just waiting for their holidays, maybe. But yeah, and so it'll be interesting to see like what Greeny can do with a pre-season, with building his own squad. I think I think that would be the real test. I mean, under almost any manager, you're gonna have a bad game or two. I mean, Newcastle's had a bad game this season at some point. Auckland has had a bad game. Everyone's had bad games. It just was, it just was not at a good time. It just didn't look good. It was a very bad looking loss. But I don't think, for me, that specific game comes into the thoughts around next year too much. And I'd say for the club, it probably wouldn't have they wouldn't think hugely about this one result for their coaching appointment.
Well, you'd think that part of it would be players playing for their next season's contract at this point, but you know what, maybe people have already made decisions. I mean, not that it gives them an excuse to slack off, and I think that most people played, you played well, but there was that felt like a bit of a lack of fight. There's been lots of speculation already at this point, like who's staying, who's going. And one of the big ones for those of you who might have seen it on social media, everyone saw Corbin Piper on Facebook Marketplace selling a car saying he's going overseas, and then everyone has a freak out because he's not a freak out like it's necessarily bad, but he's on a 2-year contract, I believe. So it's like, oh my God, are we selling him for money or what's going on? And then he quickly went back and clarified that he was selling it for Miljersnich, who I think is much less surprising to be going. And I'd say there's a lot of players that we have that will be off contract, and I think we'll probably be fine with them going. I mean, Miller barely played this season. He was injured for a long time. I wonder about a lot of those, some of the visas and some of the Australian players. And one's like, I'd love to keep Armiento, but if he doesn't fit what Greeny wants to do or the coach wants to do, he might as well go play somewhere where he wants to be played. So we're just going to have to await what the announcements are. And the most agonising one is like, is Alex being gone a done thing? Who knows? Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping that Roofs will be back with us next season. I'm hoping it's not a done thing yet. I'm hoping that the club still have a chance to convince him to stay, because, I mean, this game was the perfect example of why we need him and how hard he is to replace. I think it's hard to find players in his position in this league that are that quality. I feel like he's the sort of player that could almost walk into most teams around the league, and so he would be a huge loss. And then, we've got other players who won't be as sorely missed, I suppose. Like, as you say, Miljersnich, he's hardly played, so we haven't really even got a chance to see what he could offer us, really. Armiento, I would love to have him stay, but as you say, like, he doesn't seem to fit what Greeny wants to do. But in saying that, it could just be that, considering the squad Greeny has to work with, if he was to build his own squad, he could maybe bring Armiento in more centrally, not have to worry, because he's very much, for us in this squad makeup, needs to be off the left, and he's not good at defending. It kind of means that Greeny doesn't want to play him. But if he built the squad a bit more to have Armiento going through the middle, then maybe he could see more game time. I don't know. But as I say, I'd say it's probably unlikely on that one. And probably most of our visas won't stay on, I would imagine. Kazuki Nagasawa's been really good this season. Like, I think he's gotten better he understands the physicality of the league now, which I think he didn't last season. And I think generally as well, in the games where we don't have Rufa, Nagasawa does quite a good job in some of the picking up some of that slack for when Roof is not there anyway. And so I think, especially if we can't keep Roofs, I think keeping Nagasawa then in that case would be a lot more beneficial. And then I guess the big one that I see a lot of people arguing on in terms of visas is Josh Oluwayemi, like whether we want to continue like keeping a visa spot on the goalkeeper, or because it is quite like generally in the league, if you want to use a visa spot on the keeper, they sort of need to be one of the best keepers in the league. Otherwise, it can feel like a bit of a wasted spot to use up. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he is a great shot stopper. He is easily our best shot stopper out of the people we have. I think he's not as good on distribution or even just positioning, I think, as the other two. I think sometimes his positioning and distribution is sort of what lets him down. And so unfortunately he's not quite the complete package, which is I think probably why that debate is so ripe and why so many people are rife. Sorry, not ripe. Why so many people are trying to argue either way. But yeah, to be honest with you, I'm not too sure myself on that one.
Well, I'd like to say we could preview an upcoming match of some description for the men's team, but that will not be the case. And we are outside of, or no longer going to be able to participate in the Australia Cup, which I think it'll save a lot of money considering, the Knicks had to spend, it's really expensive to take a team overseas. During the A-League season, A-League fixtures are covered, travel is covered centrally, I believe. So teams aren't bearing that cost individually. However, that's not the case with any kind of friendly games, pre-season, or the Australia Cup. So it's costing a lot of money to enter. I personally think surely it's worth it because you're getting actual competitive games. Even if it's against NPL sides, they are not bad. A lot of those NPL sides are really good, and especially if it's early your pre-season, we've lost to NPL sides in the Cup. So this is no longer going to be the case. I don't know what the plan is going to be for pre-season and getting pre-season games against A-League teams, more like earlier in the season, like we would be playing in the Australia Cup. I'm not sure. I also think it's a pity for me being an Australia-based fan because it's something that I now can't go to over here. Jeremy, do you have any thoughts about the not being in the Australia Cup anymore?
Yeah, it is disappointing. I was disappointed by it, but at the same time, not surprised. I mean, you do get a lot of Australian football fans who didn't want us in the cup anyway because it's called the Australia Cup, and now that there's two New Zealand teams, it sort of felt like it was inevitable that at some stage we would be kicked out. But I agree. I think it's a big loss. I think, especially us in our pre-season against NPL teams who are mid-season, they're at their fittest and best. It sort of it evens up the playing field a lot and does offer very valuable. A very valuable challenge for A-League teams. And so, it is disappointing. And like you, I'm disappointed that that's a few less potential fixtures that we would have over here. So it's sort of that whole magic of the cup thing as well, because it's kind of cool that you can be at the most random little grounds and stuff like that, which sort of adds to the whole atmosphere and stuff. So but as for what we're going to do for it, I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting to see what the club gets sorted for it. I'm going to guess there'll probably be a couple of friendlies against some of the New Zealand National League teams, but in reality, that's not going to be enough. I'm going to guess, actually, we'll have to probably come over to play A-League teams a bit more than we usually do in pre-season, which is probably, going to be another bigger expense, unfortunately.
At least you can group those together a little bit more, whereas the Australia Cup, monthly, makes it a lot more difficult. Well, we'll see how that pans out. Let's have a quick chat about the game that we do have coming up, which is on Sunday, 3rd of May. That's just coming up Sunday. It is 5 p.m. local, 10 p.m. New Zealand time at Spencer Park in Brisbane. Our next women will be playing their first semi-final leg against the Brisbane Roar. This is a match that is bound to sell out. The crowd that they had sounded really, really good for their elimination final. I think it's going to be a challenge, but I think probably it's the away semi, home semi. You probably just want to look at just grinding something out in the first match and looking to go for it in your home match. Any thoughts on your end about how that might go?
I think Brisbane Roar, they feel like one of the harder opponents we could have had for this. I feel like they are always quite a challenge for us this season. They're quite difficult matches, and I expect this to be no different. I expect it's going to be quite a challenge year, especially the away league. And so, as you say, I think it is about just making sure that we come out of that one not too bad. It's like if we can come out of that even, that would, I think, be a win for us to then just take it home and sort it out there. But at the same time, I'd be pretty happy if we could get a win in Brisbane and just make it a bit more smooth sailing so we don't have to freak out for a whole extra week about how it's going to go back in Wellington. But yeah, I think it's going to be a challenging one. And I think out of the teams we could have gotten for the semi-finals, I think I reckon probably the hardest one for us. Maybe Adelaide is a shout there as well, but I just feel like watching, especially the game against Brisbane in Brisbane earlier in the season, where we didn't play that well for a long period of the game and stuff. I just feel like it is a challenging one, and hopefully we just, I think we've got a great squad, and so really we're surely favourites on paper, and we should be able to get it done. But finals football, you never quite know what's gonna happen. But yeah, here's hoping it's going to be good.
Well, we did get the comfortable 3-0 win last time, but yeah, that Brisbane, that was a 2-2 thanks to what I'm sure Brookdown will call a shot in the 98th minute. I mean, they still have quite a few of their good players, but they have, okay, I don't know how you feel about Leavali. We know how Aaron feels about Leavali. Actually, Sean Fryer is also gone from their squad with an injury. And saying that, from that game, Samba is out, Main Train is out, so it's sort of all over the place, really, I guess. I hope we get Pia Vlock back. That's a really, really big one. Otherwise, we'll see how it goes. See you there. If I can see you there, tune in if you can't make it. And you know what? If you've got a ticket to the home semi as well, that'll be a great game. Any further thoughts?
No, just if you can show up, and here's hoping that we can get it done, and hopefully Melbourne Victory can beat Melbourne City, and hopefully in a few weeks we've all got a home grand final to get excited about. But a few weeks away from that, just here's hoping.
Yeah, and I actually feel like out of any of the teams that were, so obviously they couldn't have played Canberra, I feel like Victory are probably the most likely to beat City in the semis out of anyone. All right, we'll log off then. Thanks for joining us. Matua.